So moving on to the string class, in Chapter 3 we looked at a few of the methods that are in the string class that were quite useful, such as char at, length, equals, and equals ignore case. The string class is defined in the java.lang package just like the wrapper classes, so it's imported automatically, okay, without calling it explicitly, the import statement that is. So again, I'm reiterating that. But let's look at some of the other methods that are available to us. Sometimes you might only want to use a portion of a string that we have. So in that case, we can use the substring method to return only a portion of that string. And so here's the API headers and a brief description of the two alternative forms of the substring method. The first version returns a string that is a subset of the calling object string, starting at the beginning index and extending to the end of the calling object string. Okay, so it only takes one argument, which is where do I start at? And then it's going to give you from that point on through the rest of the string. The next version allows us to specify a start and a stop point. Okay. Interesting thing to note is that this is actually the after the end index. So if we say I want you to start at position 2 and go to position 5, it's going to return the third index, so position 3, 4, but not 5. All right, it's kind of confusing, but after you experiment with it a little bit, you'll figure it out. So let's take a look at an example of a program that uses the substring method. Here we have the string method demo, and in it we have a string variable named Yoda with a string that's assigned to it. Says, may the force be with you. All right, string Yoda, may the force be with you. All right. Yoda is a string object, so we have the class string, and so it can call the substring method. From this, you can tell that the substring method is not a static method. It must have an instantiated object of the string class to call it. When we print the contents of the Yoda string, starting with the 8th index, going all the way to the end with the first substring method, remember, we start counting at 0, so we are actually starting at the 9th character. So this would print out force be with you, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? We got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You can read my writing. Okay? The second substring method will print out everything from the 4th index up to the 13th index, but not including it. So in this case, the force, right? So if we do our counting again, we said we're going from 4, the 4th index, to not including the 13th, so 4 is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to actually start with the force, right? Because the 4th index is the 5th character. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Index 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's the 5th character. All the way up until the 13th character, but not including it. So it's going to go up to the 12th character. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, excuse me, 13th character, right? Okay, but it's not including it. So the 13th index would be the space right here. This is the 13th character, all right? So it gets a little confusing when you're talking about indexing versus character position and the count and all that stuff. But the more you play with it, the more you'll get a feeling for it. And sometimes it takes a little experimenting and just trying it out, saying, okay, if I count indexes, I'm going to start with 0. And if I'm counting character positions or the number of characters, then I need to start with 1. So it's going to take you a little bit of time of playing around with it just to get the hang of it, but it's worth your time to do so. Now, some methods have many more variations or signatures. For example, let's take a look at the index of method. The index of method returns an integer position of a character or the starting position of a substring if it exists in the calling object. Now, I'm not going to go through each one of these. You can do that on your own by reviewing the API headings, but just go ahead and take a look at the difference between these signatures. All right? They all return ints. You can see that here. They all return ints, but look at this. This one takes a char. This one takes a char and an integer like starting index. This one takes a string, and this one takes a string and a starting index. So it's the same method, but the compiler is going to do different things depending on what you pass into it. So go ahead and review the program here. And what do you think the output will be? You have a string called Egyptian. We got some biblical quotes. It says, "I will not leave the square over my dead body." And then we say the index is equal to the index of the period. And then we have another string called Egyptian2, and it is returning a substring from the position of the index plus 2, and then it's printing that out. So what do you think it's going to print out? Go ahead and pause the video, take the time, do the math, think about it, use those brain cells. Go ahead and pause it right now. Okay, you should have come up with over my dead body, because its index is finding this first period. It's saying, where is the first occurrence of a period? And then it's saying, okay, give me the substring from this position plus 2, so 1, 2. So starting here at O, and until the end of the Egyptian string, we're going to store that in Egyptian2 and then print it out. So hopefully you got that. If not, go over it again, take a look at it, and make sure you understand it. And finally, we have the last index of method. The last index of methods, are identical to the index of methods, except that they search the calling object string from right to left. That is, they start searching at the back of the string and work their way to the front. Now, for the one parameter index of method, the search starts from the rightmost character. And for the two parameter index method, the search starts from the position specified by the second parameter. So it's going to, if you put in 10, it's going to go 10 characters in and then start searching backwards. Okay? So take a look at this code, and what do you think will be printed out? Again, pause the video, take a moment, think about it. Okay, hopefully you did. If not, you're being lazy. But anyway, this is what you should have gotten. 6, 34, 34. So let's walk through that. Okay, we've got this quote. Yep, right here. And then we're going to say, okay, print out the index of can. Now pay attention, because we're doing the regular index. So it's going to start, and it's going to look for the first index of where can is found. And if we look at here, the index is 6, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is where the first can starts, right? Quote index of can starting at position 7. Well, if this is position 6, we're going to start here. We're starting at A, and we're going to keep searching until we get to this position. And look at that. It returns 34. And then finally it says, find the last index of can. And so it's going to start here, and it's going to start working its way backwards, and then it's going to get to here, and it's going to find can starting at position 34 again. So hopefully you got that.